Hello, everyone. I have not shown my hands in a while. I don't know why my audio quality is shit, so God bless everyone who can understand what I'm saying. But a mutual of mine was interested in how to draw hair or color it or whatever, so I'm going to speed through the basics. So right now I'm working on an emo and I'm at the hair section when it comes to sketching. You see how when I did her hair, I put it in sections? So 1, 2, 3. Having the hair in different parts and clumps instead of doing strands could make it look more full. And since I have a reference point, which is the model, I can just grab the clumps to better understand them. So let me give you an example. I took a real life image of a girl, hair swung in the wind. Ignore my scuffed head, but since she has a hairline right here, boom, I would always suggest giving them a little head cap so it's better to understand where the hair is and you won't just disappear their forehead. And since I have a reference, I can follow her strands. Looking on different websites or on Google being like hair flowing in the wind or hair still or just different types of reference points of hair can help you understand it and use it for your own artwork. When it comes to curlier hairstyles, for me personally, I don't really use brushes because sometimes they don't work. Sometimes you're not able to like bend and distort the curls like how you would when you do it yourself. But for me personally, I separate my line art from clothing, skin, and hair. So whenever I mess up, I can just redo it without bothering all the other forms. And when sketching curls, I do it in like square format. So square, square. I then lower the opacity and make little bumps in the squares. And sometimes I'll add little like coils going down strands. You understand? I'm sorry. My stuff is so messed up. But here, when you zoom into my art, you see open space, curl space. At the end, I add little curly swirls. Some people don't do as much detail as me and still get the job done. It's just I am stupid, so that's what I do to myself. A better example is my 2.0 VTuber model. Here I added more hair strands, which you can do to add more depth to your hair. I have the coils more loose, so you see more of the hair in between. Also, this goes regardless of what kind of hair texture you have. When you do sketching, make the form of your hair. So like, my head cap, my hairline. Then since I wanted pigtails, I would make lines going out from the scrunchies. And because I had that line base, I can make the sketches square, then add the little wobbles to it, then make the line art, then, coloring go on, and I'll have my hair texture. Sometimes general brushes can help you a lot. So for me, I like using the Dove Lake brush for like really thick hair. Brushes can be a very helpful tool with making hair texture. So for fluffier hair, I use the Dove Lake brush on Procreate. Here's part 2 on me explaining how hair works in drawing, and I'm going to explain more of the coloring aspect and some more of building the hair. Since we last left on this type of hair texture, I'm going to continue on with this hair. Now, for me personally, it is stupidly easy because depending on what type of brushes you use, they can be beneficial. So since I'm primarily on Procreate, I use a Dove Lake brush and I make the form of the hair. You saw before I made a sketch, did hair, then I build off of that. Then I will add the shading and the lighting by using multiply and add layers. It's hard to see it on my end, but I use the Dove Lake brush and I add 2 multiply layers, one darker than the other, so it can add more like texture to her hair. Yeah, I'm adding it to the edges and I'm adding little blotches since, just to add more texture to it. And if you want to get fancy with it, you can use different types of color wheels to help you find the opposite of what kind of color. Then use it on the shading parts. I think it's called ambient lighting, but it adds more to the coloring. I should add it to the rest of them. I hope this helped. I'm going to give you a better example real quick. This is a very old illustration, but I was messing with a lot of pre-made brushes at the time, and I was using Dove Lake on her hair. So you see her lighting is right here. She has shading, and if I add ambient light, since a lot of green is around her, it's going to reflect off that hair. And this is just like a good example for me explaining how I use the brushes to make her hair look all fluffy. Most of the time when it comes to coloring my own hair, when it comes to this type of hair texture, I just add like little slits in the middle. Since it's literally just hair swirling down, you wouldn't have a solid space of hair. You would have like your lines of hair like you do in real life. So adding little shading strands, adding the shading cover, since this is above this hair piece, it would have more shading at this little edge, adding more lines until it goes down, then adding stuff here since, it's covering down, shading what happened here since it's also downward. I added some pink lighting to make it look cute. But generally, just having an idea of how basic shading work can help you understand how to shade your own hair. And while you build up on that, it will slowly become more textured. For me personally, I like taking my hair in pieces. So I always have like three different shading layers. So as you can see here, there's shading layer here, darker here, lighter here. Those are three different shading layers. Here's some examples of my real life hair, how the coils work, how there's like little flips of hair lingering out of the coils, how there's shading in multiple areas, and it's all different types of opacities with it. For lighting, I add lighting specific to the hair, then I add lighting specifically to the area. So I have two lighting sources and I switch between overlay and add layers to make it work. When it comes to straighter hair, they get a third lighting layer just because of the shine. I don't like adding it to curly hair, it looks weird.